Mom huffed at Dad, then stormed off to the concession stand to collect my birthday cake. "Is Mom okay?" I asked Dad as we watched her talk to the teenager behind the counter.
"Nothing a little cake can't fix," Dad said, ruffling my hair.
After the cake was devoured and the bag of ice Mom made me hold on my shoulder had melted down the front of my t-shirt, I joined my friends in the arcade, ignoring the sharp pains that shot down my arm as I rolled the skee ball up its narrow lane. Between rolls, I glanced over at my parents. They were cleaning up the remains of my birthday cake, Mom furiously scrubbing the plastic tablecloth until Dad pulled her away and held her in his arms. He stroked her hair as he whispered into her ear. I couldn't understand why she was so upset. Billy often didn't show up when he said he would. In fact, I couldn't even remember the last time he'd been to one of my birthday parties. If an earthquake hit in Japan or Italy, he'd be on the first plane out with the other seismologists, engineers, sociologists. He didn't usually have time to let us know he was leaving. Instead of disappointment, I felt pride. My uncle was important. My uncle saved lives. Mom taught me to see him this way. After a recital or debate, a Sunday barbecue without Billy, she would tell me, "Your uncle wants to be here, but he's making the world a safer place." He was my superhero, Captain Billy, who saved the world not with superhuman powers, but with a superior brain. Even when I was too old to believe in superheroes, I still believed in Billy. I thought Mom believed in him too, yet there she was, crying over a birthday party. My best friend Joni and I went to bed early that night. I was half asleep and hazy, but the ringing doorbell was real, the tiptoes downstairs, the whispers. I slipped out of bed into the hall where I saw Mom at the front door below, her satin bathrobe pulled snugly around her small frame. Billy stood outside on the porch. I started to run toward the stairs, ready to pounce on Billy. I was getting too big to jump on him, yet I thought even when I was an adult I would greet him that way, breaking his back with my love for him. When I got to the top of the stairs, Mom's words startled me. "What the fuck is wrong with you? It's 3 a.m. I froze. Mom rarely raised her voice. She never cursed. "You've got some nerve showing up in the middle of the night and blaming me. Some fucking nerve." I stood paralyzed at the top of the banister. Her anger was glorious, unlike anything I'd ever seen before. "You made things this way." She tried to keep her voice down. "You hear me? This was your choice. Don't you dare blame me." Billy turned away as Mom continued to yell about the hour, telling him he was an asshole and something called a narcissist, and other names I didn't understand. When he spotted me at the top of the stairs, his cheeks were red, his eyes were glassy. Mom followed his gaze to me. Her cheeks were pale and she suddenly seemed very old. I looked between their expressive faces. They weren't fighting about my birthday. Something else had happened. "Honey, go back to bed," Mom called to me. When I stalled, she added, "Please?" I darted back to my room, disturbed and inexplicably embarrassed by what I'd seen. Joni tossed when she heard me crawl into bed beside her. "What time is it?" "It's after 3. Why is someone coming over so late?" "I don't know." Joni rolled over, mumbling incoherently. I couldn't fall back to sleep. Mom's words raced through my brain. "Some fucking nerve," and "asshole," and "don't you dare blame me. This was your choice." Sunlight bled through the curtains as dawn became morning. I'd stayed up all night, and I still couldn't figure out what choice Billy had made, what he'd blamed on Mom, what I had witnessed at our front door. Later that morning, Dad took Joni and me for pancakes. "Where's Mom?" I asked Dad as we got into his car.
"She's sleeping in."
Mom never slept past 7, but Dad's tone discouraged further questions. When we returned from breakfast, Mom was still in her satin robe, her auburn hair tangled around her face as she folded chocolate chips into batter. Normally, singing was an essential ingredient in any recipe. Mom's mellifluous voice would weave its